You can't get rid of me, bitch. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere.
Nothing makes me scared. Do you see my hands? Do they look like they shaking to you? No.
This is the story of Kelvie McCrae, a bright and promising 18-year-old from West Palm Beach. Kelvie was entangled in a tumultuous relationship with Kayshawn Shaw, her ex-boyfriend. Little did she know, her chaotic relationship could lead her life to a tragic end. Kelvie's life was cut short in a moment of senseless violence. Kelvie tried to get help from police because her ex-boyfriend refused to take no for an answer. The shocking turn of events not only ended Kelvie's young life but also left her family, friends, and community grappling with the profound loss of such a vibrant soul. This story takes us to West Palm Beach, Florida, a vibrant city known for its sunny beaches and lively atmosphere. In this very city, a tragic incident unfolded, leaving a community in mourning. Kelvie McCrae, an 18-year-old young woman, resided in West Palm Beach. She was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend with a bright soul and a promising future ahead of her. Kelvie was known for her youthful exuberance and zest for life. Kelvie was a high school student with dreams and aspirations. She was described as vibrant, ambitious, and full of energy. Kelvie's infectious laughter and positive outlook on life endeared her to those around her. Despite her young age, she had already made a significant impact on her family and friends with her caring nature and genuine kindness. Kelvie's potential shone through in her academic pursuits and extracurricular activities. She was known for her dedication to her studies and involvement in school events. Kelvie McCrae was described by her family as a vibrant and ambitious young woman with a heart of gold. Her uncle, Ricky Aiken, described her as intelligent, beautiful, and full of life. She was a daddy's girl. Her dad was her best friend. They did everything together.
Yeah. We go down no matter what. Please,
A pre-game interview. So, how you feeling?
Oh man, I feel great, man. Got a good night's rest. Just fresh off of work. Finna go get it again, baby.
How many points you think you finna score today?
Damn buckets, man. You know, it's gonna be limited minutes. You know, everybody gotta get their clock. But I'm gonna make the best of my time, you know?
Alright, folks, you heard it from the McCraes. I called my daddy earlier at 4 something. I told him, I said, Dad, we going to a basketball game. So you know what he did? Bought them tickets. Hello.
This incestuous family took the lives of over 1,000 people. This is the true story of Wrong Turn. In the 16th century, a man named Sawney Bean decided to run away with his girlfriend to the shores of Galloway County in Scotland, where he began living in a cave, surviving by stealing food and belongings from passing tourists. Sawney Bean and his wife had children with whom they committed incest. This family began to grow, as they all had relationships with each other. Sawney Bean's clan grew to 48 people, and what they stole was no longer enough to eat. The Bean family began to take the lives of people who passed near their cave, and then eat them. For 25 years this family survived doing this savage activity, until one day a couple was attacked by the Bean family, but the man managed to defend himself with a gun, but his wife did not survive. The man had discovered the cave of the Bean clan, so he decided to report it to the authorities. After that, the soldiers of the King of Scotland went to the cave where they captured the whole family, and then they were condemned to be...
I don't think so. No. I don't think so. No. It's never, ever.
21-year-old Erica Lawson allegedly sold her own daughter to 6 pedophiles so that they could abuse her. And after this assault was finished, the 17-month-old baby Elena died. Now, this case is absolutely horrific, and it tells the story of someone whose image on social media is completely opposite who they are in real life. So on Erica Lawson's TikTok page, which is still up, she's posted a ton of videos featuring her and her daughter dancing around, seemingly enjoying life. But behind closed doors, Erica was a closeted drug addict. And since details are pretty sparse in this case, and a lot of this is still alleged, this is what we know. At one point in 2023, Erica allegedly sold her daughter to at least 6 men. And when 17-month-old Elena's dead body was discovered, she had been brutalized, beaten, and some people even say she was beaten with a baseball bat. Now, like I said, details in this case are pretty sparse, but from what I could find on news sources, there were 6 DNA samples that were sent off for further analysis. 6 more people, I'm assuming men, that will be charged with this crime. And it's been recently announced that prosecutors are going to be seeking the death penalty against Erica, meaning that if convicted, she could be put to death for this horrific crime. It's absolutely mind-blowing and just disgusting and disturbing that a woman could ever even think about doing this. I mean, allegedly selling your own child to pedophiles to abuse, and then the child dies after this abuse. This is truly one of the most horrific, most disgusting, most disturbing stories I've ever covered. If you guys want to help, head to change.org and help sign this petition, Elena's Law, created by Haley and Haven Lawless. The petition has over 6,000 signatures, and the people who created it are basically asking the legislature in Kentucky to provide harsher sentences for child predators. Something that I 100% agree with, and yeah, I signed the petition. You definitely should too. And I really hope that this despicable woman is punished to the fullest extent of the law.
Brother, you fucking mad. Get the fuck out. Brother, what you do? What you do?
I wasn't in the fuck. I'm not in the fuck off. You dickhead, I wasn't in the fuck.
Move, man. You fucking dumb. She's got your fucking
Look at your camera.
The man in this photo is one of the worst sexual offenders in the history of Ohio. This man's name was Brian Peppers. For years, this photograph circulated on the internet attached to his story of sexual abuse, and nobody believed that it was real. But some fact-checking was eventually done, and yes, Brian Peppers was a real man with a real peppered past. So Brian was born with something called Cruzon syndrome. And when Brian was younger, he was bullied incessantly by people in his school. So as Brian grew older over the years, his body quickly began to grow weaker, and eventually his mental health deteriorated to such a point that he had to be checked into a nursing home. But it was in the year 1998 when Brian was arrested and convicted of molesting somebody. According to the report, he actually sexually abused the nurse that was taking care of him in the nursing home. Brian was then removed from the nursing home. He spent 30 days in jail, and he was on probation for 5 years. After this incident, Brian was on the sex offenders registry in Ohio up until his death. When he died, Brian Peppers was only 4 foot 1 inches tall, and he passed away on February 7th, 2012, which, eerily enough, is the day that I'm posting this TikTok, and I didn't even realize it until I read that just now.
What this woman did still leaves locals speechless 65 years later. In the small town of Goobersville, Indiana, in the year 1957, a chilling incident unfolded. Karen Noodleman, a 16-year-old girl with a haunting past, resided in an insane asylum. Known for causing the tragic loss of her family members, she was deemed dangerous after a lobotomy gone wrong when she was just 13. One eerie night, during the routine morning roll count, Karen was nowhere to be found in her cell. Panic ensued as the asylum doctors discovered a hidden hole behind her Marilyn Monroe poster. The entire facility went on high alert, and the police were immediately notified. Concern for the safety of Karen's remaining family members grew, particularly her younger brother, who was living with their grandparents. Multiple attempts to reach out to her grandparents went unanswered, deepening the sense of unease among the asylum staff and law enforcement. With a sense of urgency, the authorities rushed to Karen's grandparents' home. They pounded on the front door, yelling, "Police!" Uncertain of what they would find inside, someone finally opened the door, but it wasn't who they expected.
So this photo is the reason you shouldn't put your feet up on the dashboard of a car. In 2007, Granny Keeley had an airbag deploy on her at 120 miles an hour. She was sitting passenger with her feet up on the dash, and when the airbag went off, her knees went right into her skull. Obviously, this led to a brain injury. Her 2 front teeth also fell out, but she lived, thankfully. She lived without a forehead for about 2 years until surgeons fitted a ceramic forehead into her skull. She had near constant headaches, and she developed gallstones because of the medication she was on. After they fitted a ceramic plate into her forehead, they injected fat from her stomach into it so it could look more natural. This is her today, so she looks very normal now. And of course, because she's in good spirit, she says her ceramic forehead is designer because it was made in Italy. She also spent a considerable amount of time educating people on why they shouldn't put their feet up on the dashboard. Because if you do, you could end up like this. And you might not be so lucky. So, if you get anything from this video, stop putting your feet up on the dash. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Do you ever feel violent?
Yes, I do.
What do you feel like doing?
Killing people.
You still feel like killing people?
Yes.
Describe the feeling that you get when you feel like killing people.
Well, last March 11th, I was hallucinating, and I took a razor blade and I cut a man's throat.
Here in the hospital?
Here in the hospital.
Do you think you'd murder me, Joe?
Yes.
That's gruesome, Joe. That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
And you don't blame me if I say I hope you never get out of this place.
I hope I never do either.
And so I'll tell you what, I've got a little job for you. Would you like to take this Jim will fix it badge to my friend there, and then he can put it on himself? Okay then. And you'll do that. Over there. Come and sit back down here, please. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And what can we say after such a super...
The fella could get used to all this, as it happens to you, they could get used to it. So, ladies and gentlemen, all we can say is good night from all of us here on Top of the Pops. And it's... Turn around, look at the ladies and gentlemen. Now, you see this young lady, sir? She wishes that she could help you with one of your paintings. Good idea. Do you think I may leave her in your charge? Safely leave her in my... And I'm looking forward to getting a job when I'm 65. I'm going to be maybe a caretaker in a girls' school or something like that. And...
You just saw in that video was convicted sex offender and pedophile Edward Mescare. Edward was somewhat of a celebrity on YouTube because of the extremely bizarre videos that he posted all the time. These videos included a lot of dancing, lip syncing, and extremely disturbing and eerie expressions like this one above. Edward was born in the year 1932 in New York City. And from a young age, Edward wanted to entertain people, and that's what led him to Kansas City, Missouri. It was in Kansas City, Missouri, where in the 70s he worked as the host of a children's program. This program, which Edward hosted until the year 1983, was called 41 Treehouse Lane. And like I said, this program put him around children all the time. Edward also hosted a late-night sort of variety show that aired on local stations, and he was known as this zany, bizarre guy with a lot of energy. Well, eventually Edward started posting videos on YouTube as he got older, and people started seeing these videos, thinking they were really bizarre and funny, sharing them, and he became famous. But that's when people started to do Google searches of Edward and they found some disturbing history. You see, at one point in the past, Edward had been arrested for fondling children. And when people started to do searches of his name, they found all of these records and began to expose him. Eventually, Edward couldn't hide from these accusations. He was forced to move cities multiple times, but when the authorities in Florida found out that he was posting videos, they went and arrested him because typically sex offenders aren't allowed to be on the internet, especially not posting videos which kids can easily access. So Edward was then rearrested in the year 2010, sentenced to 5 years in prison, and he died in prison in the year 2012. His YouTube channel is still up, and if you want to see some creepy pieces of media today, you can go check it out yourself.
I don't think I have ever read about a scarier human being. I don't even think you can refer to this person as a human being. He's the most terrifying creature to ever walk the earth. Jamie Osuna, the man with 1,000 faces. Jamie was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. He had one of the absolute worst childhoods. Jamie's mom was only 19 years old when she had him. Her name is Michelle. I don't really like that one bit. Dad's name is unknown, but he was 21 at the time when Jamie was born. Michelle and the Ugh, I hate saying my name. Michelle and the dad's relationship was so toxic. The dad was so terrible to Michelle. She was constantly abused both mentally and physically. They do eventually end up getting a divorce. Michelle meets another man named Jeff. She ends up marrying him, moves in with him, bringing along Jamie and his half-brother. From the beginning, Jeff is cold to the kids. He has no interest in being a father figure to anyone. He ends up being horrible and abusive, and when I say horrible, do not take that lightly. When Jamie was a baby, Jeff pushes Jamie out of a moving vehicle in his car seat because he lost his temper. Later on, as Jamie starts to grow up, we discover that he actually did suffer brain damage from getting pushed out of a car. Even though it wasn't visible and you couldn't see it, he did have brain damage. The older brother moves out. Jamie stays living with Michelle and Jeff, and eventually Michelle and Jeff have their own children. Get this, Jeff was a good father to his own children, but he hated Jamie. He was normal to his children, but he would starve Jamie. He would lock him out of the house. He would hit him. Jeff would be absolutely cruel to Jamie just because he didn't like him, and Michelle never stood up for Jamie. At one point, Jeff actually does get charged for some of the things that he does to Jamie, but he's only held by authorities for a few days and then he goes right back home. When Jamie is 12, he has only ever dealt with hate and betrayal his entire life. Ever since before he was born, that is all he's ever been surrounded with. He doesn't know any different, but he ends up moving in with his grandparents. When Jamie's 15 years old, he goes to juvie for stabbing a guy. During his time in juvie, Jeff dies from a heart attack and Jamie is released from juvie at 19 years old. In December 2008, Jamie goes to a house party, and that is where he meets his future wife. I couldn't find her name. I don't think she wants her name out there, so we're just gonna call her Sarah. Sarah is a 37-year-old single mom. She's throwing a house party for her 16-year-old son. Jamie attended. That's where they met. At the party, Jamie, it's not funny. He's just like, why does he do this? At the party, Jamie stabs a man and the police is called. He gets sent back to jail, even though he just got out of jail. He can't stay out. While he's in jail, all he's thinking about is Sarah and how much he liked her. They start writing letters to each other for almost a full year. When Jamie is released in November 2009, Sarah goes to pick him up from jail and she's shocked to see how many tattoos, facial tattoos, he got. She picks him up, they go to a motel, do the deed, and Sarah ends up getting pregnant. Apparently, when they found out that they were gonna have a baby, Jamie was excited to be a father. He was ready to step up and take care of the baby. In February of 2010, they agree to be this little family and they end up getting married. After the wedding, Sarah is still pregnant and Jamie becomes very aggressive, very abusive. Because of that, he's sent back to jail for another 6 months. While he's in jail, the kid is born. He gets out, Sarah decides to give him another chance, but Jamie quickly makes her regret that. He was terrible to her in every and any way, and that abuse eventually went not only to Sarah, but also to her kids, as well as their new baby that they had. When he starts abusing the children, that is Sarah's bottom line, and Jamie has crossed it. She isn't having it anymore. She ends up calling the police on him. Jamie ends up back in prison for another 7 months. He's released on Halloween in 2011, and Jamie does not learn. He's a violent person. He's calling Sarah, threatening to kill her and the children. And Sarah is reporting all the phone calls and all the threats to the police. One day, November 8th, 2011, Jamie calls Sarah. Sarah's assuming that he's just calling to threaten her again. But when she picks up the phone, Jamie says, "Put on the news, I just killed a woman at the Morocco motel." Sarah immediately calls the police, and guess what they did? Absolutely not.